Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the FBGE video of the week. Now before I get started, gotta get a shout out to my trusted, because you guys rock, to my crazy fam, I love you guys. Now, we're up to episode number 112, and last week we left off with, let me see if I can get it right for the first time, yay! So what exactly is Python? And that's page number 11, that's at the bottom of the page. That's where we left off with last week. If you notice that we got some little bit of scripting code here that goes to this one over here, and you could change the speed of the cube by changing. Let me switch back over. Okay, by changing this setting right here. Okay, and you can do it in real time. Now, a lot of people didn't know this, even I didn't know this. You can change it in real time. So that right there was a really neat thing to do. So what we're going to do is going to continue on so what exactly is Python. I'm going to switch back over to here to let y'all stare at that for a minute as I read along. Okay, let's get started. Now now that you are aware of all the benefits of using Python, it's time to understand what Python is. Once again, we can't go over all the aspects of the language here. Nevertheless, a general overview is still desirable to help you understand the examples presented in this book. And also, if you check the description, you'll see that I have the link to that in my description. Also, probably put it up here somewhere, so that way you could actually go to my learned experience, which is actually me reading a book on Python if you're interested in scripting, okay, and programming and all that neat stuff. Okay, so I just want to put that out there. All right, to study scripts, you must be aware of the following aspects: flexible data types, indentation, and OOP. And then that's not my game, because mine's OOPS. It's different. OOPS is object-oriented programming. Okay, so, and my game is not that. All right, so flexible data types. Whenever you write a program, you have to use variables to store changing values at runtime. Unlike languages such as C and Java, Python variables are very flexible. They can be declared on the fly when you first use them. You can assign different data types for the same variable, and you can even name them dynamically. Okay, and I'm going to switch over here so you can see the program that, or the line that they're going to use. For I in range 10, okay, and then it continues on with the variable and the stuff that it uses. So we're going to go over that a little bit further in this little snippet. Okay, so this simple snip of code is the equivalent to following: var underscore 1 equals 1, var under 2 equals 3, var under 3 equals 3. Okay, and dot dot dot. Continue on. As you can see, the variable names are created at runtime. Therefore, if you name your objects correctly in the Blender file, you can store them in variables named after them. The following code snip, I say snippet, but some people say snip, and I guess they use snips. Okay, assigns the scene objects retrieved from the game engine to variables named after their names. So, for object in scene.objects, and anybody who's done anything with Blender, okay, let's switch back over here. Anybody who's done anything with Blender here, using this little thing, that's the first thing that most people use is scene objects, because that is right here. This little guy is a scene object. Okay, also your camera's a scene object, also your light's a scene object. Everything in here is a object, or is an object, excuse me. Okay, so for object in scene, let me switch back over before I forget and talk for no reason. Okay, for object in scene.object, okay, and then you do this code right here. It actually looks for the object, okay, it's looking for it, and it appends that and the name. So your object says, okay, the object name is what? Okay, although we have flexible data types, we must respect variable types while manipulating and passing/returning them to functions. Here you can see a list of the data types you will find in Blender Game Engine API. Okay, you got the integer. Okay, this right here is an integer. Okay, that's my integer. That would be your variable. Okay, and it's equal to that number right there. So whenever you look for this integer, it's going to associate it with this number here. Okay, and that's your integers. Okay, this is the most common of the numerical types. It can store any number that fits in your computer memory. You can perform any regular math operations on it, such as sum, subtraction, division, modulus, and potency. Okay? All right, so a float. This type is a very similar to integers, but has a range of numbers that includes fractions. If you divide an even number by its half, Python will automatically convert your integer into a float number. Okay, that's Python, but it does not. Okay, so you got your simple float, which is 0.5. Okay, and then you do a little bit of, so here's square root, of course. Everybody knows what square means. Okay, and it's going to give you the information that when you put in pi, this is what's going to give pi. Okay, so let's go into Boolean. Okay. Boolean, however you say it, it still means the same. A lot of people just call it bool for short. Bool, say that 5 times fast. Okay, as simple as it sounds, this data type stores a true or false value. It can also be understood as an integer with the value of 1 or 0. Okay, so I am enjoying the book. True or false? Oops, true or false? Okay, I am understanding the book. I am enjoying the book, -1. Okay, so now you've got you place this variable, which means true. Okay, and then you take this variable and you equal that variable minus a number. Okay, which turns it into an integer because that is considered as a 1. Okay, true is technically considered as a 1, so it will minus that and you will put that as 0 because it takes it away. Now it becomes false. Okay. Somehow I got it messed up. There we go. Okay, we got it messed up there somehow. It hooked. Good old PDFs. Okay, list. A list contains a conjunction of elements ordered by ascending indexes. Although the size of a list can change on the fly, you can't access a list index that wasn't created yet. This will crash Python. Lists can have mixed elements such as integer, strings, and objects. So my list equals the square root, which is which would actually be a float. Okay, that right there can be something. Could be a what do they call that? Not an integer, but it could be. It's like an integer, but it's different. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, and then you've got your boolean. Okay, you can carry any of them. A tuple is another kind of list where elements can't be overwritten. As with lists, you can read them using indexes, but it's more common to access all the values at once, assigning them different variables, like a tuple. T-U-P-L-E equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, works as T equals 1, U equals 2, P equals 3, etc. Okay, this is a string. Okay, that would be this. Be equal to a string. Okay, whenever you need to store a text, you can use strings. As words are a combination of individual letters, a string consists of individual characters. Indeed, strings can be understood as a list of characters because you can access them using their local index, though you can't overwrite them, like in a tuple. Okay, so you've got Python and then equals rules. Very simple. Okay, you can make a dictionary. Like a list, a dictionary can store multiple values. Unlike a list, a dictionary is not based on numerical index access. Therefore, we have strings working as keys to store and retrieve the individual variables. In fact, anything can be a key to a dictionary, a number, an object, a class. Okay, so 3D software equals name, Blender, and version 2.6. Okay, so with that, your key opens the box. That's how I learned it. You know, this key will open this box to be used. This key will open this box to be used. That's the easiest way I can emphasize that one to you, because dictionaries can be very vast. They're very, very vast. Okay? But just remember, you got key and value. Your key opens up the value. Okay? All right, so custom types. These are things such as vectors and matrices. The game engine combines some of the basic data types to create more complex ones. They are mainly used for vectors and matrices. That way you can interact mathematically with them in a way that basic types won't do. Okay, so mathutils.vector101, okay, object.orientation, okay, it says the result is a matrix, because you're actually putting something on position 1. I believe that's X, Y, Z, okay? And your object orientation, okay, so you're timesing it by the object orientation. So if it's on the X direction, you're going to move it on the X direction. It's orientation, okay? And that result is this whole little deal right here is what they call a matrix. Okay, this is a description. That little pound sign right there, that little guy right there is gonna basically, it comments something out, even if it's in the line or in front, or above the line. It can't be in front. It can be behind though. Okay, so you can't do it in front. Okay, indentation. This one's very important. Please try to remember it, because indentation is very important. Okay, indentation, the amount of white spaces or tabs you leave before a new line. And you will mess up, I guarantee you, because I do it all the time. When coding in a particular programming language, it's mandatory to follow its general syntax. In that regard, Python is one of the most restricted languages out there. Okay, think of this as a tough grammar exam, or a grammar Nazi. You won't be able to score high unless you follow all the pre-established grammar rules. Now imagine that you could be even worse. Well, imagine it can be even worse. As bad as a written legal document. We are talking about strict paragraphs, indentation, information hierarchy, and similar rules. Okay? As in a legal document, those rules have a, I don't know how to say it, raison d'etre? Coup de grace? With strict form / syntax, you can focus more on the context of the text. The ambiguity in the context of the code making is fatal. Okay? So basically, if you don't use proper indentation, or you skip a space, or you don't do something right, you don't put it in quotes or something of that nature, you don't follow its rules, it's going to error out. The same thing as if you try to put a vertex way off in left field, it'll put it off in way off left field, but you won't see it. Okay? And when you go to try to move an object that can't be moved, it's not going to do it. So when you click on that mouse and you try to do it, and why isn't this moving? Why isn't this moving? Or why can't I hit Control A and make this work? Okay? Because you're either in edit mode or you're doing something else. Okay? Because you're not following the rules of how it works. So it does the same thing as the game engine. The game engine has a set of rules. Python has a set of rules, and both of them combined together, you got to make sure that those rules don't clash, because if so, you get errors. Okay? Indentation is the most important aspect of Python syntax. It is very so. Python code uses the indentation level to define define where loops, functions, and general nesting start and end. Take a look at this example. Define, here I am. Okay? Definition of the first function. Okay? So you're defining something here. It can be on the first line. Okay? Unless it's following something else and you have to define it somewhere else. Okay? Which we'll get into that later. Okay? Being that you got this little colon here, that little colon tells Python that you're going to go into the next line. Okay? You're going to add 4 spaces this way. Okay? All right, so I'm inside the first function. Okay? So that puts it inside the box. So you think, this is your box. Okay? Anything after that colon is inside the box. Okay, now this print, you were like, oh, well, that's inside the box too. No, because you came out of the box. Okay, box, in the box, out of the box. Okay, you when you're on a line in on the same as a definition or anything with a colon, okay, that means you are outside of its box. So anything you put with 4 spaces will make it to where you have it inside that box. Here goes another definition. Okay, it's outside the box, but it's got a colon, so it's going to put that one, anything else behind after it, inside the box, unless you hit backspace and come back out of the box. Okay, and then you print. Okay, I am still outside the function. All right, define, but I'm not here. Okay, define a definition of the second function. Print for you can't see me because he's in the box. Okay, outside the box is I'm still outside the function. Okay, and this right here is a call. It's a function call. Okay, and it's calling here I am. Okay, here I am is this right here. Is this one? I'm sorry, up here. Okay, it's the call. It's calling this definition. Here I am. Okay, so it's calling the first function. Okay, and then you can call the second function right after it, and say, you can put, but I'm not. But I'm not here. Okay, you can put that in, and it'll print both of these right here. It'll print that other print up here, and then it'll print it'll print that, and then it'll print this, and then it'll print that. Actually, these two will print way before these two definitions because that was after the function was called. Okay. All right, so it's going to go tell you the same thing. Here we are defining a function 1 and 2. Okay, calling a built-in function 3, defining another function 4 and 5. Okay, calling another built-in print function 6, and finally calling the first function we declared 7. Okay, so that's all the list. The output of such script will be, I'm outside the function. I'm still outside the function. I'm inside the first function. Okay. First thing you may notice is that Python runs from top to bottom. It does. Therefore, you must define your function before you can call it. Secondly, you can see that the second function is never called. So, how can the code interpreter determine which print statements to call? The answer is indentation. Whenever you change the indentation level, lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. Okay, you determine the hierarchy relation between the elements. Therefore, line 2 belongs to the function defined in line 1. Line 5 to line 4, and the other lines are all still at the same level. Okay, whether to use spaces or tabs in your scripts is a matter of personal preference, but be consistent. It makes it easier to copy and paste your code for reutilizing it. So what it's saying is, if you're going to use tabs, make sure you use tabs throughout the whole thing. But a lot of people don't even use tabs. They use spaces. They use 4 spaces, which is equal to a tab. Okay, that's what tab usually does. But some programs and some program readers that read programming language will have it set up as 3 spaces and not 4. You have to make sure it's 4. Python has to have 4 spaces. When you hit tab and you get an error saying it doesn't understand, check your spacing. Make sure you have 4. Okay. Pound sign. I finally love you. If, like me, you've never understood the reason for the number pound sign on your phone, you will eventually find it very useful. In Python, any text to the right of a pound sign is ignored by the interpreter. Therefore, the pound sign is used to add commentaries to your code or to temporarily deactivate part of it. Okay, so as you see over here, this is what they call all commented out. Okay, this is just giving you information, but they don't want it to you don't want the interpreter to try to read this. So basically, after this first pound here, all this information here, okay, is basically never going to be seen. and you're telling the interpreter, oh nope, keep going, oh nope, keep going, all the way down till you get to here, and it skips it and goes to its next line, which would be, if I hit enter, which would be here. Okay, so then you can actually start your code. This is just for information for someone reading the text, okay, or reading the file, and you want to give information like publishing rights and copyrights and all that other neat stuff, and a description of what it's about. Nobody knows what anything's about. If you just gave somebody a bunch of code, they're going to be like, what is it? They're not going to understand. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave off with that one. We're going to start next week with oops. Now, oops, oop. Okay, so hang on, let me switch to here. Okay, so next week, page number 15, oop, object-oriented programming. Okay, and a lot of people use it. Some don't, some do. But it's a good thing to get into if you're trying to learn more about programming. It'll help you get a good, what they call framework or workflow. OOP is a good workflow to work with if you're trying to, especially trying to build video games. Okay, so page 15 next week. Till next week.